So during my presentation, first, I would like to say a couple of general words concerning this problem of complexity, and then I will present results of our work on course content, learning outcomes, and structure. So as for complexity, so first I would like to tell you that I am a kind of fan of complexity because I have worked on complexity since time immemorial, that means minimum 40 years. And I was teaching complexity for our PhD students for more than 20 years and also for students of bachelor level, master level, and so on. So anyway, what I propose here is a kind of our first iteration based mainly on my experiences, but we are very open for any kinds of comments. So then as for complexity things, so first thing I would like to stress is that there are many theories which deal more or less with the same problem, that means problem of dynamics, evolution of complex systems. Therefore, I have put here a citation from Bible. My name is Legion, for we are many. Moje imię Legion, потому что нас много. Вы видите, you see just various kinds of disciplines, of areas of science which are related with complexity problems, from A, autopoiesis, up to T, technology. Mainly there are three basic terms used: chaos theory, systems theory, and synergetics. What is important that usually there are many courses related with above mentioned topics. When I showed you like this, so you have courses on systemic thinking, you have operations research, you have courses on game theory, you have courses of cybernetics, and so on and so on. But what is important, what is lacking, that we believe that students need, or doctoral students, even staff, need a kind of synthetic generalization to show how all elements of various competences acquired in the framework of various courses can be combined together. And also what is very important, that science of complexity is crucial to understand also interdisciplinarity. I will give you an example. For example, if I write a scheme A plus B gives 2B, it may be chemical reaction or ecological systems, say predator and prey. Prey is consumed and predator multiplies. Sociology, public opinion. B convinces A that he is right. Epidemiology, so it is somebody who is healthy, somebody with coronavirus. Now you have two infected people. Physics, spin-spin interaction, and so on. So for one important lesson from complexity is that if there are some mechanisms, like say feedback and so on, they appear in different kinds of sciences. And therefore, if you are a mathematician or historian or psychologist, you may use similar mathematics, similar approaches, similar logic to explain phenomena even from very different realms of science. As for our aims of our course is to introduce the learner to basic ideas of complexity, because it is very complicated thing, complexity theory. So therefore, what we can do is to give only a kind of introduction and make some suggestions for further reading and learning. Second, to show unity of science, as I showed you, and to present qualitatively some mathematical methods of complexity theories, which is also feasible because even there are some courses of mathematics for humanists, for social scientists, and so on. As for target groups, so main target group would be doctoral students, actually, but also it might be interesting to young researchers, to master students, and also a possibility of a module for staff. I would like to show you that already there are zillions of books on complexity. For example, in say post-Soviet area, it functions mainly called, it is called mainly synergetics. So you have history, management, you have education, you have social synergetics, biosystems, and so on. So you see there are already many books. It is not only a problem of post-Soviet region, because also there are some excellent books of different levels, starting from popular books to very serious monographs concerning this complexity approach. What is here characteristic, you can see, for example, titles like Deep Simplicity or Simplexity. That means one can present this combination of some simple models, simple methods, and very complex behavior. And then you can convince people that even if they see something which looks very complex, inside there could be very simple mechanisms. It is especially important, for example, if we discuss fractals. There are also books in other languages here, even in Latvian. There is a book, it is just to understand complex world. And because the problem has to be explained also in some mathematical terms, therefore there is a possibility of, let us say, two speeds of courses. That means there could be a course for students of natural sciences and engineering with more mathematics, but also there could be a kind of qualitative course for students of humanities and social sciences, more qualitative explanations. And there are already some textbooks, even many textbooks, for example, in Russian, which can be helpful to design such course for humanities and social sciences. As for course structure, it is just a kind of proposal. So there could be two blocks, theory and applications. It is also just a kind of general proposal. For example, for theory, something like 8 hours of 8 contact hours and about 12 independent work. That means some very general introduction to nonlinear dynamics, chaos, and fractal geometry. It is feasible within 4 hours. For example, when I had courses of theoretical chemistry, so I had just 4 hours of introduction to complexity in this course. And then a kind of seminar, that means qualitative analysis of nonlinear systems, and then students can also try to solve some simple problems. And then there would be another block. It is, you see in total 20 hours, but we can propose another block of 40 hours, 16 contact hours and 24 self-study and teamwork with lectures, presenting applications, physics, chemistry, biology, social science, and humanities, but also warning on abusing complexity ideas, because you have many things, produced by people from New Age, like, fractal chaos, explaining spirituality and sense of our life and so on, blah, blah, blah. So it would be very important also to show how notions of chaos theory, complexity, fractals are abused. Because if you are a doctoral student, you shall also to fight against, let us say, scientific illiteracy. And here there are many interesting materials for applications. For example, now, say, even epidemiology, there are some nice epidemiological models. So I show to our students how we can model, say, coronavirus and so on, using methods of theory of complexity. Then we can have a group work online, problem solving. Learners can work in small groups. And then workshop after this group work of something like 20 hours or 24 hours. Then one can have a workshop, presentation of problem solving, and group discussion. As for the assessment, because it would be based on presentation by students, they will explain something. So practically it would take into account 3 elements: the what they want to explain. For example, functioning of an epidemiological model or psychological model or a physical model. Why? Why it is important? So first, this that means it is content. Why? It is justification, it is context. Why, for example, this system is important, and why complexity theory can help us to understand better some global phenomena. And third element of assessment, how it was tackled, what kind of methodology was used, how it was presented by people, and so on. For example, in our practice at our university, so I organize a session when students show some PowerPoint presentation on selected topics related with complexity, and they explain all of this, and there is a kind of discussion of all students around these topics. Example of course content, let us say for students of natural sciences and engineering, it will be something like overview, some basic elements of basic mathematical methods, and explanation of applications. For example, for humanities or social sciences, instead of this heavy mathematical block, there would be more qualitative story on so-called complex adaptive systems or active works in adaptive landscapes. There are some materials that you can explain it in a qualitative way, not to use too much mathematics, and also it can be feasible. As for learning outcomes, so after completion of such course, the learner shall be able to characterize complexity theories, to tell that really all these theories have something in common, but simply different branches of science use different languages. But anyway, these theories have some common denominators, that they look for some basic rules and so on. Explain basic terms of complexity like chaos, fractals, bifurcation, and so on. Analyze time evolution and stability of simple nonlinear systems, just to understand what is behind equations. And what is important, applies to complexity ideas, systemic thinking in work and life, because also when one understands how complex systems are functioning, then one starts to see this complex system around him or herself, and can even better understand some phenomena going on, even such phenomena like, for example, some political events or some global trends in, let us say, sustainable development or economics. As for deadlines, we started to work in mid-May, and then it's our presentation. We would like to have a kind of extended draft, not a ready course mid-June, but what we hope that we start with a small team. You see, myself from Jagiellonian University, 2 colleagues from MPTI, 2 colleagues from Grodno, but we are waiting for new team members. Let's be complex. So if there are any other partners who would be interested in joining us, even not to do some hard work, but just to take part in discussion and to suggest us how such course could be adopted in their environment, so please contact us. I would like to finish with basic equation for complexity. Basic equation for complexity is 1 + 1 gives 3. That means always when we have a complex system with some intrinsic interaction between systems elements, so we have a kind of added value. So therefore, I would just to repeat that we do count very much on added value of other partners. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Marek. Please, if you do have questions and comments, please address directly by yourself, unmute your microphone.
I think that actually I could never imagine what complexity means and how this study course could look like. And thank you, Marek, for your, let's say, introduction for this topic. And I think that everyone is kind of impressed of all this complex presentation.
I would like to stress also very important comment from Marek. As Marek suggested, for example, if you are feeling you can also contribute to development of this course or maybe other courses within the MODEST, it would be a good idea if you will contact with the persons responsible or to be involved also in such kind of activities.
Yes, I agree. Oh, sorry, and a small comment. Yes, Alexander, I agree. So, and it is regarding to all study courses, because we are not closed ecosystem. We are open ecosystem, and we are ready collaborate on for comments, and all materials will be in Google Drive as well.
And in particular, my course can interact with this course on III, that means this interdisciplinarity, interculturality, and so on, because really if we take science as a kind of realm of interdisciplinary research, it is itself a complex problem. The same if we take interculturality. So also we do hope that persons who are responsible for other courses can interact with us, and then we can have a kind of mutual coupling. So on the one hand, in our course, we can mention also other courses. And in other courses, you can also mention, okay, oh, here we are approaching something which is very complex. So maybe you can follow course on complexity just to have a kind of some additional feedback or information or development of what we are presenting. So therefore, we are very, very interested in cooperating with other teams.
There is a positive comment from one of the participants, Yevgen, about the importance of mathematics but Marek already mentioned in his presentation that the first presented blocks can be also adapted for the humanitarian sciences as well.
I would like also to mention one small thing, that I was asked to teach complexity for students of biophysics, but because of many changes in study programs, finally I had to teach first-year students. That means just after secondary school. So they just were starting higher mathematics, and I had to use, differential equations, partial differential equations, bifurcations, stability theory, and so on. And it turned out that when I took some textbooks, for example, American textbooks, which start from just very low level and later they develop some more advanced things, it turned out that after a couple of weeks, they started to understand, let us say, qualitative mathematics. And by the end of semester, they were able to write very nice papers on some complexity issues. So therefore, I know also from my practice and also from books I have collected for last, let's say, 40 years, that it is also a very nice way to explain mathematics to people from humanities and from social science, to teach them how they can look at equations and to see not only numbers, but to see some logic, like x times y, it is just interaction between two species, for example. So it is also a good way to promote mathematical culture.
Thank you, Marek. So if you don't have any other questions, we are following the schedule.